Hi everyone, I'm Rana Iqbal and you are watching Real Estate Insight with Rana Iqbal. It has been a very interesting year for the real estate market. We had begun hottest quarter along with the drastic interest rate increase throughout the year as well. Interest rate increase can be stressful and unsettling sight, but it is unfortunately necessary. Due to pandemic, inflation rate is skyrocketing. That's why government had to take aggressive measures to control the market and economy. As you might have heard, we had 50 basis points interest rate increased on 26th October and we are expecting one more increase by the end of this year. In this situation, people want to know what will happen. Will the real estate market crash? What impact will the new rules have on affordability? To discuss all these things and more, we have a very special guest today with me. Welcome, Chris Salagatham, President Royal Lepage.
Thank you, Rana. Appreciate you having me here today.
Okay, as you know, Chris, we have a very busy and chaotic year. Let's start with the summary of this year.
That's you hit it right on the point. There is that we started off very busy. Interest rates were I would say in hindsight now, too low for too long. And so what happened was once the federal bank started talking about raising rates, I think people said, oh gosh, I better get into the market. And it coincided with a time where we had very, very low inventory. And with that low inventory and the high consumer demand, it pushed prices up dramatically. Then after the first 2 months of the year, the Bank of Canada realized that the rates were too low. They needed to purposely change that trajectory of the rates. They started raising the rates, and of course that did what it was supposed to do. It has slowed the market down to a much more stable and healthier level for long-term price appreciation.
Yeah, we have been having a wait and watch attitude towards the real estate market, although this is common when changes occur. Is this the right response, Chris?
It depends. It really depends on your individual situation and what your goals are with your real estate. So what we always talk about is it's tough to pinpoint the perfect time to buy or sell. It's really how much time you own. And so depending on your personal scenario of what your time horizon is of owning real estate, what type of real estate you're buying, what location you're buying it in, that will more dictate whether it's the right time to buy or not. And so it's tough to say for everybody it's the right time or for everybody it's not the right time. You really have to dig into your own personal situation and get really great advice specific to your needs. That being said, historically, real estate has always been a great asset to own for a long period of time. It's not easy to pick a short moment in time to own real estate. It's much easier to look at the history of real estate and say over 10 years or 20 years or 30 years or 40 years, values go up over time. In between those moments, they can go up and down. And we're in one of those moments right now where we required a change. Things had gotten way too hot. And so the Bank of Canada made the right decision purposely to say, okay, we've had them too low for too long. Let's raise the rates, slow the business activity down, and we're going to get back to a healthier place.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, what I see over here, the proper, government is taking the different measures to control the market and economy, and especially the real estate market is backbone of our industry or the country. So in this case, like the inflationary zoning is being implemented.
Yes.
So the 22% of the new development housing will go to the affordable housing. So in this case, what do you think about that? The builders will sit back and will not take care of their loss. What I think, like they're gonna increase the price of the remaining units. Is this true?
I agree with you because there's going to be a cost to building these units.
Yeah.
and the builders have to make a profit on their overall development,
Yeah.
and they will likely have to pass on some of those costs to the units that are not within the inclusionary zoning. So it ultimately could make real estate more expensive for people that are buying condos. And I think that's something with what they're focusing on right now is trying to do, which is a good idea, is to try and deliver more affordable housing. It's unfortunate the strategy that they put in place might actually cause real estate to become more expensive.
Yeah, okay. But in this case, the government is taking any measures to control this thing, or just like they left as is, whatever the builders want to do, they do?
No, the industry is quite regulated, and there's a lot of policies that they're trying to bring forward now to deliver more affordable housing. Bill 23 was just announced by the Ford government last week, I think it was, or early this week. I'm losing track of time, but just recently. And so if you look at the purpose of Bill 23, which is to make construction easier, faster, so that we can build more homes, that in itself would be effective. The challenge, of course, is it's easier to say, yes, we want to build more homes, we want them built faster, than to actually do it. So to see the results of this strategy that the government is coming up with to encourage more construction, to remove the hurdles and the time and trying to reduce the time it takes to take a property from land to completion is all very good. The challenge, of course, is it's going to take a while for that to actually come to reality. So I think we're going to have a short supply of houses for still a number of years.
But on the other hand, I have another, this is one aspect. Another aspect is this, like people, the new immigrants, 400,000 immigrants come every year, and for next 3 years, like 22, 23, and then 24. So we are also shortage of the new houses. So it will be a long-term planning. But my question, how someone can take benefit from the affordable housing? Because the 22% housing only goes towards the affordable housing. So how someone can get the benefit?
So in terms of qualifying for
Yes.
affordable housing? Yeah, so the government has put in qualifications for different regions of the city. So you'd have to determine the area that you want to live in and then inquire with the city what the specific affordable housing requirements are for that area. And it's usually about 70% of the value of the normalized housing for that area. I believe it's about 70% of the value. That's what they're trying to target and deliver to the community.
Right now, what I see, as an experienced realtor, I deal the clients every day, and I'm in a market. So what I see, the builders, they don't reduce the prices. The prices, and especially the construction cost is going high, high, high. It's continuously rising the construction cost. In this situation, how the builders can build the affordable housing? So the price increases will impact on the pre-construction market?
Yes, exactly. So all these price increases will continue to impact the cost of these new condominium developments that are being built today. So what happens is, of course, is the builder, the developer has to pass along these costs to the buyers of the units. And so you'll start to see, and that's why if you're looking at new construction units right now, you can see what they've embedded all those cost changes into those units, and the development charges that have gone up this year as well. All those costs are added on to the price of these units, so they're just going to continue to become more and more expensive.
Okay, so in this situation, what do you think? Like, should someone invest, if he can do that, in a pre-construction now, or he has to wait for some more time because I don't know what will happen? Everyone asks the same question.
Yeah. It's a great question. We don't have it's hard to say for certain what the future is going to hold. But if you look at the fundamentals of our city and our region, and like you mentioned just a few minutes ago, the growth in population over the next 3 years, let alone the next 10 years, is they just announced yesterday that in 2024, I believe, they want to raise the immigration target to 500,000. So we're welcoming great people to come to this region, to the GTA, but they haven't figured out how to provide enough housing. So when you have massive demand and your supply is low, it pushes prices up. So I think it's hard to say specifically is now the right time to buy or invest. I would say any time really is, because as long as you're looking at it over the long term. So really you have to be committed to investing in real estate over time, because in the short term, prices might bounce around a little bit, but with the fundamentals that we have 400 to 500,000 people a year arriving in Canada, a vast majority of people want to settle in the Greater Toronto area. There's going to be pressure on real estate, demand for real estate. And we're seeing it in our rental rates now too. The rental rates in the last year have gone up 20% year over year. So the need for housing is there. There's no doubt. So over the long term, I think investing in real estate is a great idea. But you do have to look at it from a long-term perspective. It's hard to pinpoint the exact time, but over the long term, the results are going to be fantastic.
That's great. Okay. We have an experience that the people who bought the houses in first quarter, especially like it was very aggressive quarter, very busy quarter. Prices were very high, maybe due to the low interest rate, and affordability was there. But now the interest rate is quite high, and we are expecting more high interest rate, and the monthly mortgage will go more high. So in this situation right now, the people, they call me sometime, oh, I want to sell my unit on assignment clause, but I don't find it is quite difficult to sell at this moment on assignment clause, or the monthly mortgage, especially the monthly mortgage is difficult to afford nowadays for the people. So in this situation, what do you suggest what they should do at this moment? What is the best strategy?
It's another great question, and it's challenging, no doubt, for people where if they bought and they took a variable or adjustable rate mortgage, and now rates have gone up, and you're going to see that it's going to become more expensive. My advice is, if you can keep your house and manage through, you may have to adjust your budget in other parts of your life, and to manage to make sure that you can maintain the mortgage payments, is to hang on to the property, and prices will come back, values will return. So if you happen to buy right at the very peak, when people were asking our opinion back at that point, my opinion was this, is you're going to need patience. You're going to need to plan to stay in the property. It was okay to buy at that time, as long as you stayed in the property, if you plan to stay there for a long time. Because we were saying, like, when you see a steep increase of values in a short period of time, it tends to kind of level off or pull back a little bit before it continues to grow in value. And which is fine, it's normal, it happens every few years. It seems we have these ebbs and flows of values.
Like it was in 2017.
Exactly, just like 17. And for everybody that was panicked at that moment, after they bought in the spring of 17 and by the fall prices had pulled back, if they still own that house today, they've done incredibly well on their investment that they made, that they thought, oh my goodness, did I make a mistake? So our advice is always to find a way to hold on to that property, because prices do return. They do go up over time. Again, I take that back to my point earlier. You want to look at values over a long period of time and look at the history of growth in prices of real estate. They average over the last 40 years, home values have gone up just under 7% a year. Now, sometimes they go up 10 or 12%, and sometimes they only go up 3 or 4. But they have averaged around 7%. So the key is over time, if you allow that to happen, you're going to do incredibly well, even if prices have come down from the peak of February of this year.
Yeah. Okay. Whenever like market went down or the crisis came, people take the advantages as well, and the real investors, they know what to do, when to do, and how to do, and they always consult with the professional realtors rather trying here and there.
Yes.
So what do you think, this situation is an opportunity or a very bad situation?
There's always opportunity, and that's the key, right? Is you have to, but you do have to look for it.
Yeah.
You have to look for it. And really, right now, for example, one area of opportunity is if you're planning to upgrade to a larger home, because some of the detached properties that became incredibly expensive during the last 24 months, those prices have come down. But the condominium prices or the townhouse prices are still maintaining their levels. So the gap between the lower priced houses to the more expensive houses has narrowed. So it's not as big of a spread to get into a more expensive property. So now there's a great opportunity to say, I live in a townhouse today, I'd like to upgrade to a detached property. Great opportunity to do that. Or I live in a condo today and I'd like to upgrade into a detached property. For first-time home buyers, there's great opportunities in the condominium market on resale condos. There's great opportunities in certain pockets throughout the GTA where, especially I think in the downtown core right now, there's some great buying opportunities there, because during the last 24 months, condominium values have only increased slightly. They haven't seen the big increases that the detached houses have seen in the last 18 or 24 months. So what you're doing is you're buying into a type of real estate that hasn't seen a massive explosion in price. So there'd be less price volatility in those condominiums, and a great opportunity to buy them. As investors, when we're seeing rental rates rise so rapidly, condominium investments have been, from a resale standpoint, have been an excellent opportunity as well. So there's always opportunities with different types of real estate and in different pockets of the market. So they need an expert like you, Rana, to show them exactly where to go, where to find these pockets of value, and where the opportunities are in today's market.
Great. One more question. Like what we see over here nowadays, most of the people, or I would say some of the people, they became impatient, and they want to sell the property, they want to get out from their investment property, or they really not able to afford the properties at this moment. So what do you think, it leads to foreclosures or not? Do you see
That's
any
a great
foreclosure
question.
properties in the upcoming year?
I don't see as many as we might have seen at a previous down market. The reason being is in 2018, when they brought in the mortgage stress test, so that when you're qualifying for a mortgage, as you know, you have to qualify for roughly 2% more than the
Yeah.
mortgage rate.
Yeah.
So that should have built in a buffer there for those rising rates. So that's why I believe most people will choose to hang on to their property, because most people, which I hope they do, as I just said, I hope people do choose to hang on to their property, will ride through the higher interest rates. There are always, sadly, some scenarios where people have put themselves into a position where they can no longer afford to maintain that property. And if prices adjusted so quickly where there's no equity left in the house, you may see some bank foreclosures. But the banks also generally work with people to try and help them get through these tougher times. So I think ultimately we might see a few, but we shouldn't see too many at all.
Okay. That means, so if someone can afford, especially the investors, that's a good time to invest and build the wealth.
It's actually, and I Warren Buffett, who's probably one of the greatest investors, of all time, always says you want to buy when people are selling and sell when people are buying.
Yeah.
So right now, there are people that need to sell. And so that's when you want to be in the market as a buyer. It doesn't mean that you have to rush out and buy something tomorrow. But if you're going to invest in something and you're thinking about owning real estate, you want to be in the market in the sense that you want to be aware of what's going on. You want a professional realtor to be sending you the best opportunities in the market. It doesn't mean you have to buy one right away, but it's important that you're seeing them. It's important that you're understanding what's going on and you're seeing what they're selling for, so that you can see in real time what's happening in today's market. What we've seen is recently is housing values have come down, even though interest rates have come up. The monthly payment for your mortgage, your monthly budget really hasn't had to change very much if you're buying in today's market, because the value of the house you're buying has dropped.
It's a great point.
So your monthly budget, if your monthly budget hasn't changed, it doesn't matter. You can actually still afford to buy today. And I think there's a misunderstanding about the fact that when rates go up, well, I can no longer afford to buy. Well, if prices have come down and rates have come up, it all kind of evens itself out. So you can still afford to get in the market. The nice thing is maybe you'll save $100,000 on that house that you wanted to buy, buying today versus buying 4 or 5 months ago.
Actually, some people, have a problem to get the mortgage because of the high qualifying rate. It was before 7.5. Now I believe 8% qualifying rate.
Yeah.
So that's very difficult to get the mortgage.
It is. It's more challenging today, and so I think what you want to do is you want to be sure that you understand what you can afford, and then make a decision if now is the right time to be looking for something in the market.
I want to share my experience. When, Chris, someone comes to me and wants to invest somewhere, I don't get by for him anything. Just I ask the several questions and I make his proper planning or plan.
Yes.
And I ask him how much you can afford, how long you can hold the property. If like something happened, what will you do? Do you have any escape, word or not? Many questions. And I qualify for him to, if he is okay to invest something or not. But the people, like generally, I have an experience. They say, okay, you want to invest something? Okay, do it. Because people had an experience that in over months, not sometime over weeks, they make a lot of money, 100,000, 200,000, buy something and sell it quickly. But this is not an investment. What do you think about that?
That's more of a speculation than an investment. And so I think, the way you approach it with your clients to really assess what their goals are is most important. Because I think that, yes, in times recently, people have made money in very short periods of time in real estate. And they hear about, or their friends made, and I want to do the same thing. And really, what we have to be careful is that's actually not normal. What's normal is having a plan, thinking about timeline and how long you'd like to invest for, and really coming up with a strategy that's more of a long-term approach to investing in real estate, not thinking, oh my gosh, I'm trying to make quick money. That's generally when you get in trouble.
Great. Now, I know, Chris, you love to talk about the generation wealth, and you are very passionate about that.
Yes, definitely.
So would you guide our audience how they can generate their wealth and how they can do that?
Absolutely. So generational wealth is generally created by buying assets that can be transferred over to the next generation, to your children or your grandchildren. And so what we've observed over the years is people that have successfully bought real estate as investments and held onto them long term. Really, it's not about the selling of the property or in the future. It's literally transferring it to the next generation, and then hopefully teaching the next generation that if you take the equity in some of the real estate that you own and carefully leverage that to buy more property and allow have a tenant in that property paying down the mortgage on your behalf, and that property grows and you buy another one and that property grows, that's the road to creating generational wealth and thinking long term. And that's really where the idea of long-term ownership in real estate benefits everybody. If you think long term, if you're thinking, and that's really long term when you're thinking the next generation, that means you're never going to sell it. And hopefully their children never sell it if they have kids, or their family doesn't sell it, and it grows and grows. Because if you look at the history of real estate in the GTA, it's grown for decades and decades and decades. So you can imagine for the next 40 years, it's going to grow and grow and grow even further. So if you can set yourself up to think long term and situate your investments with real estate to be handed off to the next generation, it really starts to build incredible generational wealth that benefits for many, many years to come.
Yeah, actually, what I have an experience with my, the people generally talk, or what I see that if they make one house, they are okay and happy with that. And they say, okay, I want to pay off this house. I want to pay off this house. I don't understand from where you can get that much low interest rate, loan.
Yes.
Maybe like nowadays is a little bit high, but that is a very low interest rate. So you can take the equity from your existing house or investment, and you can make another house. That's a great idea. You discuss, you give a very good roadmap. And thank you very much, Chris, sharing the facts and great ideas to my audience. I believe you learned a lot today, and we had a very meaningful and necessary discussion. If you have any question related to the real estate, pre-construction, sale, purchase, or investment, or if you want to know how to generate wealth and expand your portfolio, you can contact me anytime. Thank you very much for watching the show. See you in the next episode.